Nitro. Try to stop my praise. You can get it too. Devil in my way. You can get it too. Meet me in the cave. You can get it too. What you want?
Welcome to the Dr. Nashawn Nix Show. I'm your host, Dr. Nashawn Nix. I am so excited about today's guest. I want y'all to stay leaned in, tapped in, and tuned in as we unpack some of our biggest issues throughout the globe. If you don't mind, would y'all please help me welcome Master Sergeant Tavares Bethel.
They call me Top.
All right. So what does TOP stand for?
Well, Top is a name that is affectionately given to the senior enlisted advisor of a military company, not necessarily a military organization, because every level has a different level of leadership. But at the company level, the first sergeant is affectionately referred to as top of the company, or the first sergeant. He is the individual that is responsible for safeguarding the integrity, the discipline, the morale, the welfare, and the support of the organization against all circumstances.
This dude is clinical with his definitions. He goes verbatim, sound for sound, word for word, and that's one of the things I really love and appreciate about you. And obviously, you're retired Army.
Yes, sir.
How many years?
I retired after 21 years, 4 months, and 18 days of active duty service.
When I hear you recall your time, you make me think of all my brothers behind the wall.
Yes.
You know?
Come on, an institution is an institution now.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And so I remember, the first time I was deployed to Iraq, I was standing on FARB Thunder in Amaria, Iraq, not too far from the Baghdad International Airport. And as I looked around at those walls and all of that concertina wire or that barbed wire that encamped our facility, all I could think ain't no different between what I'm doing and what Drew doing, except I'm getting paid, right? Right. I'm still doing time, right? I'm doing time, and it's hard time because that type of time can potentially lead to you losing your life. Even though we would like to say that it's a cause bigger than ourselves, it's still at the end of the day you can lose your life.
Yes, and thank you for your commitment. And what does it say? Because of the few, the many are able to enjoy life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
Yes, sir.
So if it wasn't for the brave, we wouldn't be able to live in the state that we are in right now.
Yes, sir.
Now, let me ask you this. Has military service, is that what you saw in your prefrontal cortex when you were walking down the halls in high school?
Well, in order to be able to have that at the front of my prefrontal cortex as I walk through the halls of high school, I would have to be in class. Okay. Right? I probably went to school 30 days my senior year of high school. I'm from Miami, Florida originally. I attended Miami.
305?
305 all day. Take it to the house. All right. I probably spent 30 days at max, 45 if I'm stretching. I was there long enough to complete football season. I was a member of the Miami Carol City Marching Chiefs. And shoot, after the band season was over, after football season was over, so was my high school, my 12th grade year.
Mm-hmm. So, all right. So what shifts your cadence, using a band term? Like, So what got you re-motivated or re-engaged to want to pursue that level of commitment?
That's a very, very good question. I think here in your show, this is the first time I have ever been asked that question. So I definitely will share. So I came from a very, very dysfunctional background. I was a teenage parent, and somewhere along that time frame, around 1993, after I dropped out of high school. I dropped out of high school because, just to be matter of factly, man, I thought we were going to be rich. Nino had did it. he was all the way up, cash money to the day I die. And we didn't know that selling drugs was illegal. And so after my big cousin was taken to prison, we all kind of fell on a real hard time. In the midst of that time, I turned way to the street. And mind you, I ain't talking like I'm some gangster, right? I was a straight A student all through school, always tested in the top 5 percentile in the nation in standardized testing. My mother actually kicked me out of the house in order to keep me from the environment that I would eventually navigate back towards. After my first child was born in 1994, I committed a robbery. When I committed the robbery, I found myself in a very, very, very unique situation because I was kind of like at my wit's end, if you would. I had a cousin who loved me very much. My cousin Ozell, we affectionately call him Yar. You met Yari when we came over to the Impact. And when he walked in the house and he looked at me, he said, man, get your stuff together, man. I'm finna take you to the mosque. Right? And when I walked into the mosque on this particular day, like I tell individuals, you know how sometimes when you go to church, they say that sermon was for me.
Yes.
That lecture was for me. Minister Abdul Biya Muhammad looked me directly in my face and he said, you're going to F around and you're going to get yourself killed because you don't realize your worth, your relative worth, and your people need you. That day, I changed I can't say I completely changed my life in that moment, but that was definitely day one of me transforming my life, which would begin a journey that would take me from Carroll City to all over the world, to where I find myself right now in the city of Jacksonville, Florida. So that was definitely the life-changing moment for me.
So let me ask you this. You said straight A student, and we got to give your mom a shout out too, especially if she's watching, because I met your mother, a beautiful black woman, and thank you for allowing me to meet her.
Yes, sir.
And I know she's proud of you today, as
Yes,
well
sir.
as your siblings. I know the family is, because I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
But with that context, where do you feel the gravitation to the street culture? And I'm using street culture. What would you say was the gravitation? Like, you know what? This is where I can see me being successful versus staying committed to the books. Like, what would you say the draw was?
Okay, that's also a very good question. And I think if we unpack that, it'll kind of help us understand some of the dysfunction that we're experiencing as parents, as leaders in our community. It was research that was conducted, I want to say in the 1950s, where children were analyzed to find out what were the influences on children during that time. And in the 1950s study, it was determined that the biggest influences on children were church, teachers, and parents.
Mm-hmm.
When similar research was conducted in the 1980s, that paradigm had shifted. The biggest influences on children were entertainment and other children. Right, so you figure that 80s research would have kind of been along that same time period where we were becoming adolescents. And so when you living in an environment, you're a latchkey child. You don't have much parental influence. We grew up listening to NWA and Luke, sitting around a radio, right, trying to determine how or who we were going to be in an environment that lacked parental guidance, right? So given in an environment such as that, right, you're going to naturally navigate to the influences that are the more dominant influences that are amongst your peer group. And then you're going to chase after those things that represent those things materially that you desire, right? And so in our community, those things that we desire are possessed by individuals who may not be acquiring them through methods that are supported by institutions or systems. However, they're still the things that we're seeing every single day as we navigate our community. So for me, even being a straight A student, man, I'll never forget the day I was sitting at home. I'm going to tell this story, even though the people who are in the story are still alive. But
You
anyway,
just change the name to protect the character.
change the name to protect the character. Nah, somebody need to know them jokers had a bad influence on me. But anyway, I was sitting at home, and you know the Dolphins ain't never really been worth a damn. But I was watching the Jets come around the corner, and if Mark Gaston would have sacked that Marino one more time, I'd have fell out. But anyway, my cousin walks in the house, and when he walks in the house, he got this bag with him, right? And so the Joker dropped the bag on the floor. And so I'm sitting there, I'm enjoying the Dolphins game. And so he was like, yeah, what's going on, Tug? I see you watching them Dolphins, boy. I said, yeah. So he said, yeah, man, hey, tell that boy Slick I'll be right back. He said, oh, yeah, and if there's something wrong with this bag, when I come back, I'm going to kill you. And for me, I was like, what's in the bag? You know what I'm saying? So now I'm paralyzed. I'm low-key afraid. I'm about 13, 14 years old, and I never had really been in an environment such as that. So when my big cousin come in the house, we call him Slick affectionately. Slick come in the house, and I'm trying to tell him, man, this joker just came in the house and threatened me. Mm-hmm. But he blew past the statement. He was like, man, he said, you good in math. Can you count? And I was like, yeah. He opened up the bag. That's the most money I've ever seen in my life. He dropped $350,000 on the floor. And from that day, I thought I was the most gangster thing in Carroll City. That changed me completely because I'm coming to school. I just was with somebody who had $350,000. Mr. Sarmiento got on raggedy shoes and pee stains on his pants. Who am I listen to? Am I going to listen to Mr. Sarmiento, who don't look like success or look like wealth, even though he probably is a brilliant teacher or a brilliant educator? He don't look the part, right? So since he don't look the part, we can't connect. And you know, oftentimes, a lot of those teachers or those individuals who populate our schools and our community, they don't have enough love for the children anyway. So now you coming to work, You're doing a job because you're trying to earn a living in order to be able to take care of your family, but you ain't thinking about my family when you come in there. You ain't expressing or sharing love with me as you sit inside of this classroom. And so in the absence of that love, I'm going to find that love, and that love existed in the streets. And I'm pretty sure if we analyze today, that same love exists in the streets of Jacksonville, and that's why these young men and women, they gravitate towards the streets in order to be able to find that which they don't find anywhere else in their homes or in their schools.
And now, if you don't mind, and I don't think we've ever talked about this, and we don't have to go too deep into this if you don't want to. We did talk about mom. We talked about the streets. Can you tell me a little bit about your father's role in your life?
Okay, so yeah, we did. We may have talked about Fred a little bit. So let me.
So your older brother
is named Fred.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, now, mind you, that joker, he ain't never really been around my father. And if you see my brother, it's almost like it's scary being in his presence for me, right? It's scary being in my brother's presence for me because he is so much of my father in the sound of his voice and in how he looks and how he moves, articulate his words, move his hands. It's the weirdest thing ever. But anyway, I love my father. My father was a good father for me. He have saved my life on more than one occasion, but my father was immoral. My father had some real struggles with his morality, and the struggles that he had with his morality, it adversely impacted that home environment. And so my home environment was very, very, very unstable. It was very, very, very dysfunctional growing up as a child. I heard a brother, student minister, Mark Muhammad, actually was saying that the man is responsible for setting the temperature inside of the home, and inside of that house, the temperature was either icy cold or jalapeno hot. So that was my father. But he was a good man. He was a brilliant man. But it's kind of difficult for us to even understand that generation because you would have to look at him as a man that was born in 1950 America. That means he spent some time prior to civil rights. So his experience was shaped in a way, right? And so I think that we also have to look at that when we assess his participation in the home.
All right, and once again, this is no judgment on any aspect of any character in our families. One of the things that I do whenever someone asks me to minister at a homegoing service, I'm not going to romanticize a character. I'm not about to romanticize mama them, grandmama them. And I would say that a lot of that firmness came from my grandmother on my father's side at his funeral. She said, my baby was mean. And if he liked you, he loved you. And if he didn't like you, he'll fight you. And I'm like, Granny, you can't just be so blunt with these words. Like, I'm still grieving here. But she helped me understand we don't have to romanticize stuff.
Yeah.
And regardless of who he was, he's still my baby.
That's right.
And I feel like in the black community, a lot of times we determine what love we're going to give somebody based on their character instead of just loving the individual for who they are. And a lot of times we try to base actions and activities, and then we kind of determine what capacity of love we're going to give them. I'm not talking about your bank account and checks. I'm just saying the love. And once again, when we start looking at family dynamics, I come from a blended family. And one of the things that I always share with folks is that I have a beautiful, blessed, and blended family. And then using a Judeo-Christian perspective, Abraham had a beautiful, blessed, and blended family.
That's a fact.
When you look at Jacob, who we call Israel, he came from a beautiful, blessed, and blended family. If you look at King David, who people like to reference, once again, he comes from a beautiful, blessed, and blended family. When you look at Solomon, he comes from a beautiful, blessed, and blended family. And when you look at who I consider my Savior, Jesus Christ, he comes from a beautiful, blessed, and blended family. And then his goal is, through his works, actions, and divinity, is to hopefully save humanity.
Yes, sir.
And that's So I like to, because like when people start saying, well, man, you need to go see a therapist, you need to go see this right now. Let's just unpack the family dynamics, and then we can kind of use that as a foundation. And because if you ain't going to accept what you saw and accept what happened in your home, us going to a therapist is just putting makeup on a wound.
That's right. That's right.
So no matter how pretty it is on the outside, the scar is still there under the tissue.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that people should not see therapists. I'm just saying that just looking at places to start. And then one of the things that you mentioned about entertainers made me think of Malcolm X. Malcolm X said, in the black community, we're the only folks that put comedians and entertainers and singers and preachers as our leaders. Not saying that those folks are not leaders in their respective rights. But for example, they don't get scientists who have degrees in that particular expertise to come and speak on those subjects.
That's right.
And then when it comes to politics, like we don't have any census data, strategy, organizational skills, or mobilization ability to be able to implement stuff. But the key is that we want to make sure that we're getting good information from people who are competent. And then when you look at one of the books that I read called Tribal, and in this book, and I believe the author is Daniel Jung, but in the book, it talks about how people who went to war in Nam is what they use. But in Nam, they have soldiers who are able to sleep better during open fire with their comrades than they were able to sleep at home in their own bed with their family. And basically, in looking at it, calls it a determination or self-determination. And with that determination, I break it down into 3 C's, which is confidence, which is like belief in yourself, competence, which is something that you're good at, and then community, somebody that you can share what you're proud of and you're good at, and sharing that with.
Yes, sir.
And so unfortunately, when you look at taking that, and then I also have worked with some of our urban youth in reading, and what we did was we went over Who Moved My Cheese for teens.
Right.
And we would call them huddles, and we said, so who do you call in your huddle? And I'm saying, man, if I really had a big issue, I'm probably going to call my councilman. If I have a real big issue with business, I'm going to call someone that has a Fortune 500 company. If I have an issue with health, I'm going to call someone who's has a discipline in either a medicine or some type of a pharmaceutical background to make sure that I'm taking the right prescription. But when you ask our teens from out of the urban communities, who do they go to? They go to each other. Or they go to social media. So looking at a decentralized approach, it hasn't always worked in our favor pertaining to decentralized, meaning that you have other outlets where you can just go on your phone and go to YouTube or go to TikTok, where that information may be coming up first. It may not be the best information to use.
Right.
And unfortunately, when you start looking at entertainers, and I could speak of Luke, when you're looking at building behaviors and competencies, the behaviors and competencies, and once again, this was for a time and a season, when you look at Uncle Luke, you're basically you're learning audible words of sexual orientation, and then you're constantly repeating sexual orientation to where you're trying to reenact the words.
That's
Bam.
right.
And then when you look at drill rap, all you're doing is rehearsing how to commit a murder.
That's right.
And then you're playing back how to reenact what you've been rehearsing
That's
audibly.
right. That's right.
So so there's a lot of danger in there, especially if you don't come from a village. And I heard what you mentioned as far as visiting the mosque and the minister who was speaking to you and for you at that moment.
Yeah.
And it really kind of helped shift your path. And I thank you for giving us that feedback. And with that being said, I'm going to give you a statement, and I want you to let me know what you get from this. Bishop Gelsey used to say this a lot. He said, "You can cut an apple in half, and you can count the seeds in an apple, but you cannot count the apples in a seed." What does that say to you?
You know, that the first time I heard you say that, I think we were over that Solid Rock. when the first time I heard you say that, and in my mind that was just so profound, right? Even as you share it again, the thought that I'm having now isn't the same as that I had then, right? Because then it was kind of materialistic, my thought, because I thought really in the actual term of the apples, how many apples could be in that seed, right? Because then when you think about what potentially exists inside of the seed, inside of that seed is trees, right? Which produce even more apples, right? But when I think about in the course of the conversation that we're having right now, if you think of the human being as the apple, right? The experiences that are inside of every single individual, you can't count the experiences inside of the individual or what those experiences will produce as a result of what's inside of the individual. What do I mean? Right? So just like you just shared, right? A child or a young adolescent, the things that impact the brain. By the time a child is 13 years old, they've seen over 150,000 acts of sex, over 150,000 acts of violence. By the time they're 13, the brain, being a muscle, operates on memory. So now if you continue to entreat the brain to an experience that is vulgar or lacking in morality, when I'm tested or I'm under pressure, when all of my conscious activity shut down and I'm in fight or flight, I'm going to resort to what the brain remembers, right? So now if I've indulged in 150,000 acts of violence or 150,000 acts of sex, then I'm put in an environment where I'm under pressure, right? What is the child supposed to do? And the child has a weapon in their presence or in their possession. Now I'm on autopilot, right? I'm operating, I'm acting out something that I'm not in control of because I may have experienced 150,000 acts of sex or 150,000 acts of violence, but absent a parent in the home. I ain't seen 150,000 examples of control, resilience, maintenance, support, strength, courage, love, all of those things that would be required in order to allow me to have a fulfilling experience. I go back into muscle memory, and in muscle memory, I commit a heinous act. And so to your point, man, we just got to be very, very careful how we judge.
All right. And thank you for that, because one of my affirmations is that people can only perform to the level that they've been prepared.
Yes, sir.
Whatever you repeat, you reinforce. And then repetition builds reputation.
Yes, sir.
So I'm in line with that. Another thing I want to share with you, right? When you're looking at potential and possibilities, master sergeants, or you say top, you know what I mean? Just looking at the fact that, that's pretty high ranking, and you said
21 years.
That's not. So how do you delay gratification for 21 years to be able to fulfill your assignment with the U.S. military? How were you able to sustain 21 years?
That's also a good question. I'm gonna be as transparent as I can too with that. So when I joined the United States military, or when I made the decision to join the United States military, I made the decision as a active member of the Nation of Islam, right? The Nation of Islam does not allow participation in the United States military. I am a child that was raised with military men as examples, right? So even absent the full expression of what a father was or should be, right? I had enough of his example where when I found myself in a difficult situation, I knew that it was a place for me that I could go that would provide myself, if not the safety, it would at least provide the security for me if I was to lose my life. Because that's the thing that I was really wrestling with in my early 20s. If I mess around and die, like how are my children are going to survive? I knew that if I joined the United States military, if in the event that I died, and being from Miami, Florida, the potential for me dying existed every single day, right? At least my children would have something when they came of age that would allow them to be able to advance their life even a little farther than myself. Now with a little bit more wisdom, I realized that $150,000 just wasn't worth the squeeze, right? However, what drove me for 21 years was these days, right? Giving myself an opportunity to grow up so that I can find my tribe, those individuals who we could work together in order to be able to make the world a better place. All right. And so when I look at the skills and the things that the military offered me for 21 years, I thank God that now I have the opportunity to use those skills and give them what they deserve to be to our community, to those people that I love. The delayed gratification, it was something that you really got to work for. And I think if we all learn that, then we'll be just in a little bit better place. But what helped me for those 21 years was understanding how significant this time is and how significant the people are that require the assistance for us to be able to build something that hasn't existed in the annals of history, because that's the time that we live in right now.
And now let me ask you this. So what would you say in this chapter of your life, what is top priority for Master Sergeant? What's top priority for you right now?
I think it was an Outkast song where they say green dividends. At this level of life where I'm at right now is being able to solidify all of our business relationships, our business opportunities, securing the economic resources that we need in order to be able to carve out our niche and to grow our legacy. I was having a conversation with my cousin. And, my cousin, who is also a member of the Nation of Islam, talk a lot about nation building, right? And I told him, I say that the nation is only going to be built as fast as the skill of the nation builder, right? So if we sit around and we delay, education, we delay the discipline that's required in order to attain the critical skills that's required in order to evolve our community, then we should also, in that same fact, stop complaining about what we see manifested in our community as a result of our lack of activity, right? Because everything that we see, we have the opportunity to influence it. And so if we don't want to influence it the way we have the ability to influence it, then likewise, we shouldn't complain.
But obviously, complaining is very convenient. Mm-hmm. It makes you very comfortable, mm-hmm. and it doesn't require any real action or mm-hmm. commitment. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, all right. And for me, one of the biggest things that I'm big on is I'm very big on needs assessments, mm-hmm. making sure that what I want for a community or what I want for a family is the same thing that they want for themselves.
That's right.
All right, and then at the same time, granted, I'm past the time in my life where I'm getting handouts. Mm-hmm, where I'm at right now, I want a handshake.
Come on, man.
And partnership.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And being able to understand that, okay, transactional relationship is, okay, you gave me something, but then you don't want nothing to do with me. No, I want partnership, meaning, all right, so I want to revisit this in 90 days so I can let you know what mm-hmm. we got going on. Mm-hmm. Let's revisit this mid-year so that we can regroup to make sure that we're hitting the right milestones. Let's make this annual so that way we can continue to build, and at the same time we can share our experiences with the next person. I was listening to this song. Believe it's South Africa, and so you'll have to Google it, but I believe it's pronounced Sho Shalosa. Sho Shalosa. And the song, it's like make way because there's someone coming right behind me.
Right.
So like Sho Shalosa, make way because there's another man working right behind me. Sho Shalosa. And I'm like, okay, I love this song because it's talking about progress and making room, because not only am I working, but I can also trust that the person behind me mm-hmm. is also fulfilling their God-given assignment.
Right.
I'm going to throw something at you. Luke 2:49, this is what it says. Howbeit that you look for me when you know I must be about my Father's business. What does that say to you?
So my father, I give it to you in this example, right? Again, and the example may be a little dark because it was coming from a time period. This was about in 2007. My father was wrestling with brain cancer, and as he was coming through, the brain cancer, he had a surgery that said it would potentially compromise his memory. We had a real bad dust up as a result of this thing. I'm gonna skip past that part because it's not necessary. But he sent an email in January of 2008. Suggesting that he would like to bring peace to his family. So the email group of the message was not what I liked, right? It was all the men in our family, which was a good thing, right? It was all of the men in our family, but that's not where the atrocity occurred. So I authored an email that was between my father, my mother, and all of the members of the home. And in this email, I confronted him, and he responded to the email back in the group with all men. Right, and in the all men's group, he kept returning to this group, and every time he returned to this group, I would take him back into the original room, because what I wanted him to do was accept responsibility for the women and the lives that he destroyed in that home, so that way I could be able to get a degree of peace as well for something that I experienced inside of the home. He would not respond, so I finally asked him. I said, in Scripture, the most important relationship in Scripture is the father-son relationship, so much so that the relationship between Jesus and God is modeled father-son. I say, what king wouldn't accept the counsel of a prince, right? So if I'm gonna be about my Father's work, then what I want to be able to do is I want to be able, as Elijah said, turn the hearts of the children back to their father, right? But it's also understanding that as we attempt to take on certain types of work in this dispensation of time, the challenges of doing those things may be a little more difficult because of the type of father that we have. But when we understand who all of our Father is, it makes it so much easier because he's given blessings and forgiveness to us all, right? So regardless of the atrocity or that which we may consider atrocity, we got to look at even greater and beyond what happened as a result of what was experienced. And now everybody's story ain't a powerful story of how they was able to turn that trauma into triumph. But what I would suggest is that if we were about our Father's business, that we could turn trauma into triumph, because according to Dr. Joyce DeGruy, she said for every period of post-traumatic stress, there is an opportunity for post-traumatic growth. Right, and so if we just get about our Father's work, to me, that when I hear you share those words, that's how it moves in my spirit. Get about that work of trying to do the best to be the best person that you can. Right, I'm not trying to be better than any other man. I'm just trying to be the best version of Tavares that I can be, and try to do good to as many people as I can every single second of the day. And sometimes we fall short, and when we fall short, and I got to cuss a joke, it don't bother me 2 cents. However, right. What we want to focus on is just trying to do the best we can, being the best quality of people that we can.
All right. So I like the way that you came around with the darkness, because I do believe that there's contrast, and there's a verse in the Bible where God talks about form light and create calamity. I, the Lord, do all these things.
Yes,
and I believe it's Isaiah 45. And I think sometimes people, they fall victim, or they fall hostage to the dark contrast, instead of using it as a launch pad to move forward. And typically every hero in the Bible, they all had some type of tragedy or a valley of a shadow of death, a pit, a prison, death, disfigurement. But on the other side of it was transformation.
Yes,
and
sir.
Typically it also came with promotion. And real quick, for the folks who said, man, I'm very intrigued by Master Sergeant Tavares Bethel, how can my viewers and listening audience follow up with you? Where can they find you?
So I'm new as far as opening myself back up. I don't really be on social media, right? If a person really truly wanted to connect with me, they would have to connect with me on LinkedIn, right? That's where I do the majority of my business these days. I don't spend much time on Facebook, Instagram, even though as the podcast grows, those mediums will improve. Right now, the best way to get in touch with me or to find out more about those ideas would be by contacting our website, which is sixfigureboss.com. That is the number 6 figure FIGURE boss BOSS.com, sixfigureboss.com. That's the best way to get in touch with me these days as we work back towards integrating into the community and working with those leaders that are doing those progressive things that are required in order to build our environment.
Awesome. I love it. For our listening and viewing audience, thank you for staying leaned in, tapped in, and tuned in for this episode. This is your host, Dr. Nashawn Nix. Thank you for viewing and listening to the Dr. Nashawn Nix Show. One of our affirmations that we teach is excel is the movement and excellent is the destination. Thank you so much for allowing us to visit you and wherever you may be watching. I love you and God bless you. Thank you, brother.
Man, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. That was